Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So great to be with you. Excited for a full week of Zohar. We haven't had one for a little while, and especially for this week, where we complete this incredibly powerful portion of Vayeshev. I don't know about you guys, but this has been one of my favorite portions. Not too crazy deep and complicated. Lots of stories, lots of beautiful messages, lots of insights and inspiring revelations. And Miketz is I think is also going to be very similar. So hopefully I'll try to do what I can to get the invite out today, so you can invite your friends to join for this incredibly powerful portion that we're going to complete on Friday, and for the new portion of Miketz that we will be starting in exactly a week's time. So let's begin though today with setting our intention for uh, for our study today and for this week. I mentioned a teaching on Shabbat about one of the meditations when studying the Zohar, how studying the Zohar, connecting to the light of the Zohar, is actually what burns away all of our klipot, all of our negativity, anything that blocks us from connecting to the light. So we want to take a moment before we begin to actually read the Zohar, read from the Zohar, and begin our study today, is to think about one aspect of negativity I want to be burning. We're in the week of Gvura, of the Omer, the 11th day of the Omer, Netzach of Gvura. So we want to think about aspects of judgment. We want to burn away any aspects of addiction, any aspects of selfishness, of control, need for control. We can focus on that and direct the light of the Zohar to that to help burn that away, to help transform that, so that the beautiful, pure, limitless light of our soul can shine unhindered, and that we can reveal the pure love that exists within us. So take a moment to think about that, negative actions you've done, negative thoughts that you have. Direct the light of the Zohar to that. Let's begin with the prayer of the Ari to open up our hearts to support this powerful connection, and keeping in mind, as we've said, that the appreciation we have is the vessel for where all for how all this light can manifest and rest upon. So we want to awaken deep appreciation for the merit that we have to have access to the Zohar, live in such a blessed time that we get to study the Zohar, have studied so many sections of the Zohar together, been given the desire by the Creator to be here to help reveal this light. We've said so many times throughout the past few studies how the greatest way to transform darkness, right? We said it's like equal to all the sacrifices, is the study of the Zohar, is the study of the Torah. So it's a merit that we have access. Yeah, we said this um, paragraph 251, right? That our study is what atones, what cleanses all of our negativity. So it's such a merit to have access to this great light and a desire to connect to it. And the Rabbi Shimon has revealed all this for us already, and that we live on this path. So we really want to reawaken that appreciation. We're also coming to this week to the month of Taurus. The month of Taurus is month of Iyar, the month of the Zohar, the month of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So it's incredibly exciting. So a prayer of the Ari to open up our hearts, to prepare for this powerful study. ריבון העולמים ואדוני אדוני מעברך מבשלך מודה מלך לפניך ומעלינו ולאבותינו וקידש לך ושקר לנו לתורתך ולאבותיך עבודת הקודש ונתת לנו חלק בשדות תורתך הקדושה. למען החיים אשר עשית למען החסד הגדול כזה. כן אנחנו מפנים לפנינו לפניך שבנך ונסלח כל חטאותינו ועוונותינו ואל יהיו עוונותינו מעבידים בינינו לבניך וכן יהי רצונך עלינו ולאבותינו שתכונן עד לבניתך ולאבותיך ותקשיב אוזנך לדברינו לפי תסלח לבבינו הערה בזאת תורתך ויהיה למדינו זה נחת רוח לפני חסך ודרך כך ניחוח. ותצל עלינו עומק כל נשמתנו בכל בחינתנו ושיתנוצצו ניצוצות בדרך הקדושים אשר איתם גידית את דבריך לבעולם וזכותם וזכות אבותם וזכות תורתם ותמותם וקדושתם יעמוד לנו לבן נגשה בדברם אלו וזכותם תארננו ומה שאנו לומדים כמאמר נעים זה מאוד ישראל גל עיני ובלתי נפלאות מתורתך כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה Here we are, paragraph 254, and we're going to start to discuss the interpretation of the dreams of the two guys in prison with Joseph. So, Zohar will begin, but then we'll kind of go off into some sort of side explanation, which is going to be mind-blowing, and then we'll come back to a bit of the interpretation of the dreams. ויחלמו חלום שניהם, איש חלומו בלילה אחד, איש כפתרון וגומר. So this is chapter 40 in Genesis. Joseph finds himself in prison after being accused, wrongly accused of trying to take advantage of his master's wife, Potiphar's wife. She actually, of course, she was trying to seduce him. She was trying to sleep with him, and he resisted all of her advances. She sent him to prison, and he's been there for 10 years now. 10 years in prison. An Egyptian prison, not very pleasant, of course. I don't think any prison is pleasant, but it's probably worse than any prison today. So, after 10 years, two of Pharaoh's servants get sent into prison with him. The wine steward, the butler, and the bread maker, the baker. They were, I mentioned last time, Pharaoh found a fly in his wine and a stone in his bread. So he sent them to jail. And it said one night, the two of them had a dream. Ish k'viton chalamo hamashke ve'alfeh. They each had a dream, the butler and the cupbearer and the baker. Asher levelch mitzrayim. They were the butler and baker of the king. Asher saw that they were imprisoned with Joseph. Now, what does it mean that they had a dream according to his dream's interpretation? It says that each of them dreamt something. So the butler, the wine steward, dreamt that there were, and we'll go into the details of the dream later, but he saw basically three, vines and grapes, and he squeezed the grapes into Pharaoh's cup. The baker saw baskets of bread and 3 baskets of bread on his head, and birds eating the baskets off of his head. Now, when the butler dreamt his dream, he dreamt the interpretation of his friend's dream, of the baker's dream. When the baker dreamt his dream, he dreamt the interpretation of the butler's dream, right? So the butler saw this scene, maybe not exactly like this, right? Whatever. He saw the scene that he saw, but he knew, he also received almost like a prophecy or like some message about what is going to happen to his friend. And the baker saw his dream and then knew what was going to happen to his friend. So we know the butler was the one who was found innocent, or who the king, realized, look, a fly flies into your drink. What can you do about that? So you know what? It wasn't the butler's fault. Well, he'll survive. The baker, that was actual negligence. He left the rock in the thing. So the obviously there's different explanations to this, but let's say so the baker was convicted to death. So 3 days later, after this dream, as Joseph interpreted, as we'll see, the butler is freed on Pharaoh's birthday, and the baker is executed. Okay, so Tachaze, come and see. We know, as the Zohar says, that the interpretation of the dream, or every dream, follows the interpretation that the mouth speaks. So the Zohar asks, Yosef kad pashar leho chelma. When Joseph interpreted their dreams, amai pasha lehai pishra tava, ulehai pishra bisha. Why did Joseph interpret one dream in a good way? Why did he interpret the dream of the butler, of the wine steward, the cupbearer, that he would live, And why did he interpret in a positive way? And why did he interpret the dream of the bread maker with the baskets and the birds, that he would die? Why did he interpret it in a bad way? Why did he give a good interpretation to one and a bad interpretation to the other? Meaning, why couldn't he give them both good interpretations? Right? For those who are familiar a bit with dream interpretation, you always want to interpret it in a positive way because you know your words have power. And you could always try and find a way to interpret it positively. Obviously, if there is a pure negative message, then you wanna help transform that and cancel that, nullify that. But in general, right, like there's a phrase when someone says they had a dream, you immediately say "Chalom tov, chalom shalom." You had a good dream. It's a good, it's a dream of peace. Don't worry about it. You always try and interpret it positively. Why did Joseph not do that? Didn't he know the power of his words? Didn't he know, especially his history, where his brothers, caused him so much trouble with his dreams? Why didn't he interpret them positively? Ella, rather, the Zohar answers, "Inun chelmin alei Yosef haba." Joseph understood, and we'll see, probably not today, but next time or the time after, when Joseph heard these dreams, he understood they were actually about him. They had to do with him. And because he understood the matter at its root and its source, begin kach pasha chelma leho kemad. He therefore interpreted the dream as he should, accurately, without any trying to fluff around, just purely what he knew the dream meant as it relates also to himself. He interpreted each dream. He gave interpretation to each dream, to each of them, to restore everything to its place and its root. Right? So everything was exactly as it should be. And restore everything as it should be. Which again means he would come out of jail and actually he would become king and begin the whole process of the exile, but also the redemption. 255. Maktiv. What does it say? Vayomer alehem Yosef, halolihim bitronim sapunali. So he sees them in the morning that they're distraught. So he asks them, "What's the matter?" He says, "Look, we both had a dream, and we have no one to interpret the dream for us." So Joseph says to them, don't interpretations belong to God? Sapunali, tell me, please, what dream did you have? I can interpret it for you. The interpretation belongs to God, but tell me a dream. My Tama, why did he say it like this? Why did he say the interpretation belongs to God? Because when you interpret a dream, you should always attribute everything to the Creator. Because we know everything's a message from the light. Everything is from the Creator. We don't want to think of it as random. We don't want to think of it as our own interpretation. We want to connect it to the source. Because, and the Zohar will explain in a deeper way what this means as well, but everything is a message from the Creator. The interpretation and the message from the Creator, the existence behind everything is the light of the Creator, and that's where the interpretation lies as well. We always want to connect it to its source. So when Joseph wanted to interpret these dreams, he didn't want to come up with his own interpretation and try and be even positive when it wasn't, or try and give good news when he couldn't. He wanted to just be a pure channel. He wanted the light to come in and just channel what was necessary. 256. Tachaze, come and see. Haitma, we've learned the daga de chelma letata ihu. We know that the level of dreams is below the level of prophecy. V'iu daga shtita. We know it's the sixth level when it comes from prophecy. As we'll see soon, and we've studied about this before. Begin because from the level of where prophecy resides to where dreams reside, meaning the spiritual source of both, is 6 levels. And we've studied about this before. Prophecy comes from the level of Netzach and Hod of Zerampin. Dreams come from the level of Hod of Nukva. So between the level of Netzach, Hod, and Zerampin, you have Yesod, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and Hod, the sixth level of dreams. So six degrees, six levels lower is the level where dreams, the source of dreams come from, compared to prophecy. So dreams are actually, compared to prophecy, are at a very low level, but everyone can access them. That's one of the reasons why everyone has dreams, or everyone can receive messages through dreams, because they're on such a low level. V'saka pishra midaga dechelma. But the interpretation is above the level of the dream. Ledaga acha, on another level. So why we studied that earlier in this portion. The portion begins with dreams, of course. And it's interesting that the portion begins with dreams and ends with dreams, right? And the next portion also begins with dreams. Um, we have Joseph's dreams in the beginning, and then these guys at the end, and then we have Pharaoh's dream at the beginning of the next portion. But what the Zohar is saying is that the level of dream is a message that all can receive, but the interpretation is on a higher level. Chelma iudaga diltata. Dreams are on a lower level, which are channeled through the angel Gavriel, the angel Gabriel, as we've studied already. Ufishra kaima alayu, and the interpretation stands above that level, on a higher level. Ufishra kaima b'dibur, because when you interpret a dream, it has to be with speech. You speak when you interpret the dream. And the speech, right, if you just have a thought and you see a dream in your mind, it's on one level. But when it's spoken and interpreted, it's on another level. That the level of speech always corresponds, the mouth is the malchut of the face, of the head. And when you speak, it's related to the level of nukva, of the malchut. So when the interpreter gives their interpretation, that's why it says you have to be careful who you tell your dream to, because whatever the interpreter says will happen. There's a story in the Talmud of a person who had a dream, and he went to, I don't remember how many, but like, I don't know, let's say 100 different interpreters. And it says that every interpretation happened. Every person who interpreted his dream, all the interpretations all occurred. There's also a story of different sages who would go to an interpreter, and one, he always took a payment for his interpretation. So one would pay him well, one of the sages would pay him well. He'd always got a positive interpretation. He had great blessings. Another one, he wouldn't pay so well. Maybe he didn't pay him at all. He wouldn't pay him so well, and he would always give him negative interpretations. This is in the Talmud. And basically, his life, because of the interpretations, he didn't know, but he kept telling him dreams, and the interpreter kept giving him horrible messages, and his life fell apart. And eventually he was cursed, and the whole thing. But it's because the mouth, we don't realize how powerful our words are. Our words are malchut; they manifest. That's why our when we speak truth versus lies, when we say something positive or something negative, when we speak evil speech, lashon hara, about other people, we don't realize how powerful it is. Because our words are supposed to be able to bless. Our words are supposed to be able to create like the Creator. So the interpretation is on the level of nukva malchut, manifestation. And therefore, everything goes according to the interpretation. It all depends on speech, on the nukva, the malchut. Dichtiv, as it says, halal lehim pitonim, because as Joseph said, don't all dreams belong to God? Right now, the name Elohim represents the name of God of judgment, of related to malchut, of nukva. Halal lehim vadai. Surely we're talking about the level of Elohim, which represents the level of nukva, of malchut. So when Joseph was telling the two people that he was going to interpret their dreams, he was saying, I don't want to say it for myself. I want to connect to the Creator and manifest what the Creator desires to manifest through these messages, through these dreams. When Joseph also interprets Pharaoh's dream, as we'll see in next portion, Miketz, also he attributes it to the Creator, and it's not just a sign of, let's say, humility or piety of Joseph. It means that he was really bringing in the light of the Creator to manifest the Creator's a message through this dream. That he was activating the level of the nukva, the malchut, with his mouth, to come to a higher level and interpret the dream. Okay, chapter 24. This is a beautiful teaching, a beautiful section. This is, second to last chapter of this amazing portion of Vayeshev. And this is a portion a teaching that we've touched upon, but now we're actually going to study directly from it. So this portion is this chapter is titled "Let a double portion of your spirit be upon me." So we'll understand what story and what verse this is from in just a moment. Paragraph 257. Some of us might already be familiar with this, but we'll get us all hopefully on the same page. Tachaze, come and see. Maktiv, what does it say? So it says that first the cupbearer, the butler, the winemaker, he's the one who tells his dream to Joseph first. So in his dream, he saw the three bunches of grapes and three vines, and he squeezes the grapes into Pharaoh's cup, and then um, and he, I don't know, I think maybe he gives the cup to Pharaoh, I don't remember. But either way, he squeezes the grapes into Pharaoh's cup, and Joseph interprets the dreams that look how many fingers he has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow. That's good AI for you. So maybe that's why he was good at squeezing the grapes. He had extra fingers. So after he squeezes the grapes and the cup goes to Pharaoh, so then Joseph says that in 3 days, Pharaoh's going to free you and you're going to be back in your position. So he was very happy with this interpretation. Now, there's always going to, again, like I said, go into some sort of side explanation and then come back to this. Because we're going to learn, we'll see. Rabbi Elazar opens the discussion and says, quotes a verse from Kings, 2 Kings, Vahi be'ovram, ve'Eliyahu amar l'Elisha, sha'ama e'aseh lach b'terem אלא כך מעמך, ויאמר אלישע, והנה פי שניים ברוחך אליי. So the Zohar is bringing in a story of Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, and Elisha, his successor, his prodigy, successor, whatever it is. So Elijah the prophet lived at a time that there was a lot of drama, you might say, in Israel. There were a lot of false prophets that he went head to head against. Many of the kings and queens were not really in a good state of consciousness. They were in a very negative state, idolatry and murder and everything. And they were chasing after Elijah the prophet. They wanted to kill him because he was channeling the Creator's messages. And the Creator's messages obviously were a little harsh towards them because they were not on the right path. So at some point, Elijah the prophet knows that he needs to leave this world. So he calls over his student, his successor, Elisha. And he says, tell me, what do you want? What can I do for you before I take it from you? Meaning, before I leave this world. We know Elijah the prophet did not die, did not go through a death the way most people go through a death. It says that, he was taken up by the Creator. It said like a fire came down and he was taken in a chariot. And we know it's not a coincidence. We're studying this portion right after the portion of Shmini, where the sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, they also were taken up in a fire. They reincarnated into Pinchas, and Pinchas is Elijah the prophet. And Elijah the prophet also went in a fire, not being consumed like in Nadav and Avihu, but being elevated to the level of an angel. Elijah the prophet didn't die. He represents the light of immortality of the end of the correction. And therefore, he told his student, before I leave this world, before I am taken, as he says, right? He knew what was going to happen. Not before I die, before I'm taken. Before I'm taken from you, tell me, what can I give you? What gift can I give you? What can I bless you with? What can I give you? So his student, Elisha, answers, Vihina pishnayim beruchacha elai. Give me double of a portion of your spirit. Pass it on to me. Let a double portion of your spirit pass on to me. Give me twice your soul. 257, continuing. Hachai listakla. So the Zohar says we have to look very carefully here. We have to understand there is a deep, beautiful, deep secret here. We have to understand what the depth of this story and this interaction is. It's a very strange, surprising response. This story is very strange. Elijah told Elisha, ask for anything. Can he really offer? What position does Elijah the prophet have that he could just give anything away? That really should be in the Creator's domain. The Creator decides what people can get, what not. Why would Elijah the prophet offer his student to say, ask for anything? The two, furthermore, didn't also Elisha, his student, know that that's not in Elijah the prophet's position to be able to give that kind of that request? Only the Creator can give such a request. Therefore, why did he say, why did he say, let a double portion of your spirit pass on to me? 258. Rather, surely the Zohar answers, whoever holds on to the heavens and the earth and the entire world, meaning the tzaddikim, they are connected both spiritually and physically to hold this entire world. They are able to manifest anything. Surely they have any ability to manifest anything. Everything is in their domain. Everything is in their permission. Surely Elijah the prophet, Ushad tzaddikim, and other righteous souls, other tzaddikim, because the Creator always fulfills the wishes and the desires of the tzaddikim. Because really their desire is the same as the Creator's desire, right? Dichtiv, as it says, Retzon yere'av yaseh. That's why it says in Psalm 145, He fulfills the wishes of those who fear Him. And we know the phrase yere'av, fear Him, is not meaning you're afraid of God, but it comes from the root word of those who see the Creator, those who have certainty in the Creator, those who are connected to the Creator in all ways. Then the Creator's desire is always to fulfill their desire, because it's the same. Certainly those who have divine inspiration, the Holy Spirit of the Creator upon them, like the divine spirit, the prophecy, the level of holiness that would reside over Elisha, the tzaddik, the righteous. Imagine Elijah the prophet's successor, right? Like today is the day of elevation of Joshua, Yoshua, who was, it says, like the same spirit of Moses also rested on Joshua. Joshua was his successor. Same thing, Elijah the prophet being possibly, well, not the greatest prophet, because Moses is the greatest prophet, but Elijah the prophet being who he was, his successor would have similar energy, and now his successor is asking for double the spirit, right? He was not only was he his student, he was his servant, right? Like Joshua was not Moses' greatest student, he was Moses' greatest servant. Moses is not the greatest prophet, he was the Creator's greatest servant. Same thing. The Rav, he says, he doesn't consider himself, Rav Brandwein did not consider himself the greatest student of his teacher. He considered himself the greatest servant of his teacher, which means not that he sits there and makes him tea or coffee, which they also did, but it's that they become an extension of their teacher. It's that they serve their work in this world. The Rav was the greatest servant to his teacher, Rav Brandwein the greatest servant to his teacher, because he was the one who continued his work the most in this world. Elijah the prophet, his greatest servant and greatest successor was his student Elisha, because he continued his work. Joshua continued Moses' work in this world. Therefore the Creator told him, that's why when earlier in 1 Kings, the Creator tells, just like the Creator told Moses about Joshua, the Creator tells Elijah about Elisha, that anoint Elisha, the son of Shaphat, of Avel Necholah, to succeed you, to be anointed as prophet after you. And therefore, it was befitting of Elisha to be his successor, to inherit all of his light. We'll just do one more paragraph, 259. What does it mean to receive a double portion of your spirit? What does it mean when he says, "Let double of your spirit be upon me"? Could it possibly be possible? Could it even be a possibility in our mind that he was asking for double of his teacher's soul? How could he ask? Meaning, was he asking to be greater than his teacher, to receive more of the ability and soul of his teacher? How could he ask something that his teacher doesn't even have? Because a person can't give something they don't have. How could his teacher give him double of his own soul? Ella, rather, the Zohar answers, Ihu lashal ruach al chadtrein. He wasn't asking for two spirits, for the one spirit that Elijah the prophet had. Elahachi shal minei. What he asked from him was, Bahu ucha dahava le, for the spirit that Elijah the prophet does have, de yavitrein nimusin be'alma. That he would, with the same single spirit that Elijah the prophet had, that would be able to create double the miracles, twice as many miracles that Elijah the prophet revealed in this world, that Elisha, his student, will be able to reveal. Now, we'll see really on a deeper level what this means in paragraph 260. There's a long, beautiful commentary here of Avashlag. But one simple interpretation, some of the commentators, Rashi and different commentators, explain that Elijah the prophet revealed 8 specific miracles, and Elisha, because of the prayer and desire that he asked from his teacher, he managed to reveal double, meaning 16 miracles in his lifetime. But again, that's just one simple interpretation. We'll learn more tomorrow about what does it mean to receive double the Spirit. How does this have to do with what's called the Lev Ha'evin, the heart of stone? We'll understand more about that. And then we'll actually explain the interpretation of Joseph with the dreams and how it has to do with everything we're studying. But we'll do all that hopefully tomorrow. So thank you all for joining, continuing with paragraph 260 tomorrow, and looking forward to seeing you then. Lots of love. Have an amazing day. Bye, everyone.